Welcome to Grow Your Dental Practice podcast. I am your host, Mohammed Ismail. I am a cloud accounting expert and a business advisor to dental and medical professionals. My firm Shift Accounting has helped our clients reach their financial goals. How do we do this? We offer intuitive solutions through bookkeeping services and business consultancy. Our monthly management reports provide valuable financial insights. These insights can help you improve your profitability and help you achieve your goals sooner. Our goal for the Grow Your Dental Practice podcast is to provide you with valuable resources to help you build, manage, and grow your dental practice. I interview experts in a variety of areas, whether you're just thinking about starting your own dental practice or you're already well on your way. There is something for everyone. Enjoy the show. Hello, dear listeners. We are back again with another new episode. Joining us today is Dr. Justin Bhullar, whose passion for science led him to obtain a degree in biochemistry and dentistry at the University of Saskatchewan. He has been practicing as a general dentist ever since, emphasizing the importance of the dental experience. As he continues to leverage the latest innovation and technological tools to diversify treatment options for his patients. When he is not managing his multi-location practices, Dr. Bhullar is also a speaker, a mentor, an industry expert, and a co-founder of dentalbusinessmentor.com, where he puts together comprehensive curriculum packages covering a wide array of topics for fellow dentists to benefit from. I am excited to have him here on the podcast as there is so much to learn from his journey.
All right. I appreciate you having me here, Mo. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Most dentists start their career as an associate, maybe an owner, a partner, maybe, and they work chairside until retirement. For some, this is the perfect setup, but for others, they feel stuck. They built a comfortable lifestyle, but the only way to maintain that lifestyle is by working 4 to 5, days a week.
Mm-hmm.
You own multiple practices.
Mm-hmm.
You run them remotely, and you only practice dentistry 1 to 2 days a month. Um, I mean, for you to pivot early on, I mean, you're still a young guy, uh, you know, it's impressive. And I'm sure it was hard work and took a lot of discipline. So tell me about your journey.
Yeah. So, pretty good summary right there. And I came out of dental school in 2010 and just was very, very eager to learn as much as possible about all aspects of dentistry. And that journey started even into dental school. You know, dental school can be quite cookie cutter, can be quite in the box, very rigid. A lot of times, the academics that you have teaching you are pretty good with teaching you the didactic material and some clinical aspects as well. But really, where you learned the most from was those folks who were just coming in from their private practice on clinic floor. They were just there to volunteer their time. You know, they weren't part of the faculty in any way. And I just found that, wow, there's such a disparity between having conversations with my professors and then these folks who are in the trenches, real world, doing what I will be doing. And I said, I think I better pay close attention to what they have to say. And so I started to form some relationships and, visit their offices and talk to them. And I was like, wow, there is a lot to learn here. There's a business to run in addition to, just doing dentistry. And our patients in the dental college, there's an abundance of them here and out there. There's all kinds of things you have to be concerned about: the demographics and where you open practices and how you set yourself apart, and doing HR and marketing and all those sorts of things. So it really opened up my eyes to say, okay, I need to spend these 4 years in dental school not only learning the clinical aspect, but actually learning the ins and outs of how a dental practice is run, because dentistry is art, it's science, and it's business, right? And so it's all three. And the art and the science we get a good grasp on, and that's about it. So when I got out, I was just trying to learn as much as possible, finding mentors, finding folks that could teach me. And what I did know right away was like, I want to take as much CE as possible. So I was out there doing 3-4 times the CE requirements. I was away every weekend doing online programs and training. And I had convinced myself, I said to myself, okay, a lot of friends, they would say, oh man, it's, it just sucks to when patients ask you how much experience you have, like, you got to say, well, I'm a new grad. And like, what do you say to that? So I said, well, I got to find a way to be able to say I got a bunch of experience. So I said, okay, what does the average dentist work? The average dentist works approximately, 4 days a week, they're working approximately 6 hours of active work a day, some up to 7.5, 8, but approximately 6.5. And when you look at their schedules, the way they're booked, they're not all like highly productive schedules or booked in the most effective way you could. So what is experience really? It's how many patients you have seen, right?
Mm,
And how many procedures you have done, not the number of years you've done something. If I've been a dentist for 10 years and someone else has been 10 years, but I did twice the patients, who's more experienced? And
right.
so I said, okay, I'm going to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I'm going to do that so that by my second year, I can say I have almost 5 years experience.
Wow, fantastic.
so, so anyways, the point being, I think when I came out, I was really just wanted to get as much experience as possible. And I love dentistry. I love clinical dentistry. I love, just basically connecting with people and patients and seeing the positive impact that we can have. So we're just so blessed to be in this profession. But I also love the leadership and the culture building and helping people go from where they are to where they want to be with their goals, whether that's a dentist or one of the team members on team. And really taking a keen interest in the systemization of processes in the practice, really coming up with strategy to compete in today's competitive markets with consolidation taking place in the industry. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So I was so interested in that as well.
So,
And
Justin, I need to unpack what you told me because this
yeah,
is really
yeah,
good.
yeah,
I think there's
yeah.
a lot of value to what you're saying. So, how did you know this is the career path for you? I mean, many owners, they love the dentistry, they love the patient care, but they struggle with the management. They struggle with running the business. It's stressful, So, how did you know that I love being a dentist and I love being a business owner? Tell me about
Yeah, yeah. Well,
discovery phase.
I think there's few people who have stories like when I was young, I just loved going to the dentist, or I had this injury, or my uncle, and then my other uncle, and my dad, and my grandfather, and everyone's a dentist, and that was my path. The majority of people go into dentistry. When I talk to 1,000+ dentists a year, and so the majority of people, when you ask them, it's because they enjoyed science, right? It was either dentistry or medicine for them in a way,
Right.
and they didn't want to go through medicine or some residency. They wanted to work with their hands. They enjoyed the idea that they could improve people's self-confidence, and also there's a significance aspect, right? People like to be called Dr. X, and they like the significance, and we want that. And so there's those things. And then there's the financial side where they know that, look, I'm going to make good money and I'm going to be able to get out and support myself and live the lifestyle I want. Um, and so I think that's how most people start. And all of those things is what I thought about as well, right? Great job security, great way for me to help people. And then I was educated early on in understanding that, hey, there's a lot of options here for you. You could, as a dentist, you don't just have to be in the dental chair, although you could do that indefinitely. You could start doing other things like owning multiple practices, or even just slowing down in the chair and having people work at your practice, so that you can focus on some of the other things that are fun to do. Now, to answer your question, this idea of how did you know? I don't think anyone really knows until you get started. See, I think most of us try to think our way through things too much. We try to think and think and think. And I think the thing is to take action. Speed of implementation, get going, uh, and then put things in certain buckets. I love this, I dislike this. I love this, I dislike this. And guess what? You're going to find out. Most of the things you love come generally easy to you.
Right.
Most of the things you don't, do not. so, so then that helps you develop your strengths and weaknesses, and you get more self-awareness, better choices, better results, in my opinion. And so that self-awareness helped me. I started to realize what I was good at and what I wasn't. That helped me on the clinical side, where I started to, I did less orthodontics and more surgery. I
Mm,
did implants and sinus lifts and IV sedation and these things. And I started to realize I enjoy that more. And that's more fun for me than doing a class 2 composite, for example. So I started to find that in the clinical side. And on the business side, I started to realize, hey, I love people. I love growth. I love progress. I love being able to go out there and form relationships with other dentists and help form strategic partnerships with them where, hey, they love the clinical. I'm doing less of it. They want support because they don't want to deal with the rest. And we're able to, have a partnership. Like family, not like a large corporate, chain. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but not what we're doing. We're very much a dental partnership company. We're very much family oriented, and no matter how big we get, our goal is to feel small.
So, okay. So I want you to, I mean, and one owner that owns one practice that if they take 1 week off, you can see, production tanks. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Walk me through the steps of, okay, I need to manage a business. I need the HR piece. I need the processes, the systems, but I cannot step away from the chair side. Right. That,
Yeah,
and I don't want to
there's
work the
both the
weekends.
handcuffs,
Right.
right? Yeah.
you know?
So there's two sides to that coin, okay? And there's one side that I think everyone's going to enjoy hearing, and there's the other side that half the people will say, "Yeah, sure, that's great," and the other half will ignore me because having talked to so many dentists, I get you get very perceptive about this stuff. The first side is, the reason why we're so tied to the chair is because we're keeping up with the Joneses all the time. I think we're spending more than we need to, quite frankly, and it's social pressure too. You tell someone you're a dentist or a doctor, and everyone thinks you're rich, and so nobody understands the reality of it, and all the costs that come with being that. And look, I'm not complaining. I'm not saying anyone should feel sorry for doctors or anything like that. But it's not easy to earn your living, and nor is everyone rich. And so I think the most important thing is to say, look, like really decide what's important to you. And you don't have to keep up with your friends. You don't have to, buy the latest of everything that comes out, the best cars and things like this, because at the end of the day, your freedom is going to come from maximizing your earning potential. So investing in yourself through CE and other things and learning how to run your business so you can increase the amount of money you make every year. That's objective number one.
Perfect.
Objective number two is to save a portion of that and invest. And we won't get into the investment rabbit hole, but you have to do that because where does passive income come from? Otherwise, you're tied to the chair for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And so investments can come in various forms. And I think the best one for most dentists is their practice or a portion of a practice. That's the one they're going to have the most control and influence over. And then all the other ones, not so much. So I think it's important for them to do that. And before we move on here real quick, I just want to say, you asked me specifically, how did they make that decision? Well, once they know what they need to earn in a year, once they know what they want for their lifestyle, and how much they need to save, etc. Well, we need to figure out and reverse engineer the math, right? That's where guys with your brain come in and we say, look, I need to make this much money. This is what I produce. This is where I'm at today. This is how many days a year we are open. This is when I'm going to close. This is what I'm going to do, say E, and you come up with a number. So you say, okay, I need $300,000 or something, I don't know, after, or before tax income perhaps or whatever. So you come up with that number, maybe it's a lot higher, maybe it's lower. I'm just throwing something rough out there. And when you know the number of days, when you know your practice numbers, like your profit and loss statement inside out, and you know how much income you're going to take home from that, you also know how many days you're going to work. Well, you can see that you can come up with numbers here. I'll give you one number. If you're working 200 days a year, and you come up with a daily production goal, well, now you know what you got to produce. So that week that you're off, it doesn't matter if production tanks because you're meeting your consistent goals throughout. So it's this irrational fear that dentists have that if I leave, my practice will fall apart. Well, you're right that in the event that you don't set things up right, have the right team, have the right systems in place, that could happen. But here's the reality. Reality is it's going to do just fine without you as long as you plan in advance to set that up. It really will. And I'm proof of that. I lived in Florida for 2 years while their practices were running just fine. Now, I wasn't sitting on a beach. I was working on them and interacting and doing stuff. But who runs their practices from Florida and they're up in Canada, right?
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing from you is you need to slow down to speed up. And the slowing down is by education and professional development.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit more about, the non-clinical education and professional development that you were part
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, so much, Mo. And I think, I have a lot of clients through my coaching company, right? As you know, I have High Performance Practice, which is a coaching company. And so I talk to dentists from all over the place and mostly in North America, all the way from, New York to California and up, towards Canada and all over the place. So it gives me this unique perspective on what people are doing out there. And I would say, in terms of non-business, the one thing before we talk about what education to get is to really ask yourself if you want it. Quite frankly, I honestly, in my heart, believe that any dentist can do it. They can do both, the clinical and the dentistry. I think they can all do it. There's no shortage of intelligence. There's no shortage of intellect or anything. The reality is, do you want to do it?
Right.
Do you want to do what it takes? And I think that's the message I try to share is here's what it takes. And a lot of this stuff is not going to be fun. It's going to tear you away from family and give you sleepless nights and it sucks sometimes. And so, you have to be a particular type of individual for that. And so I think if you're not, and you're being honest with yourself, then the best thing to do is to form strategic partnerships. Like, I wouldn't bother going out there and trying to learn everything about business if you're not interested at all.
Right.
I just
Right.
wouldn't. So the other half of you who are saying, no, 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 I want to learn, well, then I would start with leadership type training. Okay. I would start with things like leadership training, communication training, right? Just basic stuff where you can learn how to lead effectively, how to communicate effectively. And there's tons of different books on stuff like this, right? I mean, you just Google leadership books, you will have a plethora. I don't have a favorite. I've read a bunch. You take the best, you leave the rest. The information is out there, right,
I
Mo?
I love
Like,
it.
we know if we want to become effective business owners, we need to become better leaders, better communicators, better business operators. And so, operations of business, the business can be chunked down into bite-sized pieces, right? We can take it down and distill it down into bite-sized pieces, figure out where the problems are within those bite-sized pieces, and then come up with solutions for those, micro problems. And in doing that, you come up with systems and processes and strategies to resolve problems that are in your business. And so that's where the nitty gritty happens. And I think the easiest way to do that is to find someone who's further ahead of the timeline than you. Like, forget the books, forget whatever. You can read the book in a weekend, but you need somebody who's going to be with you to help you do it and help you through it.
Right.
And so that's either your strategic partner, that's either a coach or consultant that you trust, or it's somebody who's neither of those things and they have practices of their own and they just want to share.
Right.
There's plenty of kind-hearted dentists who just want to share. So that right there, if you take nothing else away from this and you're thinking, I want to learn more about business, remember those three resources, right?
I
And take those away, because that's the key. You really just want to be connecting with the people that have already done it.
I love this. Absolutely. I mean, there is no shortage of knowledge for whoever is seeking it, right?
Yeah,
you know,
too much information at times.
exactly. So, Justin, your clinics are run by the team, okay?
More mainly, yeah.
Mainly.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
tell me more about that. I mean, how involved are you? How do you trust yourself to give up control? Right? I mean, dentists love
Yeah.
control, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talk to me about this.
Yeah, so everyone, as human beings, I think we're wired to have some degree of certainty, right? And all of us have different risk tolerances. And I think if we have a pretty low risk tolerance, we don't want anything to go the way we don't want it to go, then we have more control that we need to exert. And that control then becomes micromanagement. And that micromanagement then becomes decrease in time with family and leisure and all those sorts of things, and becomes stress and anxiety and overwhelm. And you're like, I'm done. And so I don't want to do this anymore. And so, I just didn't want to go down that road. And so, I enjoy control. I like to, make sure that I can get a certain outcome, like everyone else. I love to cap the downside. So what do we do? How do we do this? Well, I'd love to say there's a simple method, and I'd love to say that every week is the same, but that would not be the truth. And I like to be very transparent with folks. So, am I able to have a team run practice? Absolutely. I am involved in the day-to-day operations on a micro level, very, very little. Okay. Um, now, what does that require though? It requires great people who you work with, okay, who have opposite skill sets to you. So I'm very much vision, strategy, and leadership, culture development, bringing fresh ideas and things of this nature. I'm very good at helping connect everyone and level people up. So these are just some of the things. There's other people, so I call these door openers or folks that like to open
Right.
doors. Then there's people who love to close doors,
Interesting.
okay, or close loops. For them, they want you to give them something and they want to see it finished,
Right.
right? For those folks, if they have too many doors open, it's panic.
Hmm.
They want to close a chapter, open another, and they're just wonderful, gifted people in their own
Hmm.
way. So if you are a loop closer, you love to close doors, it would be wise for you to have a strategic partner who's more of a visionary strategy,
Hmm.
whatever, or at least have a coach who could help you with that part. If you're a visionary strategist door opener, you definitely want loop closers because you won't get anything
Right.
done. You'll have tons of enthusiasm, momentum, and chaos, but when you look behind you, there's a paper trail of garbage, right?
I love
and
that
so,
analogy.
so yeah, and I think so. The most important thing for us to do is to realize who are we on there. And people say, I'm a little of both, no problem. But most people are more of one than another. And I think if you're being honest with yourself, you can figure that out. So once you figured that out, I think you need to assemble a team of people around you who have the opposite skill set to some
Hmm.
extent. The majority of people you want in your team should be loop
Hmm.
closers, right? They should be loop closers. And there's personality assessments you can do and surveys you can do that we try to find loop closers as often as possible. Is it perfect? No, but we have a very low turnover rate. We generally have team members who are very competent, but it comes in this way. So number one is find the right folks that are loop closers. Number two is you got to have a process to train them. Like if I can't show them what it is we expect of them, then you can't expect much from them.
Right.
And so we have a documented training process,
Interesting.
and we're doing better and better. It's revised every quarter, every year as systems change and processes change. So those things are important. You have to have it documented, or you have to have a method by which you're going to put someone in a position and train them up so that they can work to the
And is
standards that
that
you expect
across
of
the
them.
board, like your front desk assistants, hygienists, or is that everywhere?
Everywhere.
Perfect.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah. So we could do better in some areas. Right now we're revamping hygiene. We're revamping some of the RDA training, but I would say it's pretty good. Like it's overall pretty good. And so, we want training in place because we need to teach folks the basics. I call it setting people up for success,
Hmm.
right? If we hire someone, don't explain to them A, what we want, B, why it's important they do it that way. Ding, ding, ding. Remember why. Okay. If they don't know why it's important, they won't
Right.
do it that way. And then three, how to do it. Okay. And then four, how we're going to measure if it's done right. Now, there's not measurements for everything, but there are for some things. How we're going to assess performance. Well, now you're onto something. Now you have somebody you have set up for success. And so I didn't know this stuff in the beginning. I learned this over the years and through mistakes. I mean, the first 40 team members I had in my early days, there's some of them still with me, most of them not, and they're probably just glad they left at that time. And so the reality is you progress and grow, and my leadership has improved over the years, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I think it's growing every day. I'm learning something new every day. So once I've done that, I stay out of people's way. I really do. I don't get micro with them. I meet with them on a weekly basis, the leadership team. I talk with them on a weekly basis. So that could be the equivalent of your office
Hmm.
manager. It could be your lead hygienist, your lead RDA, whoever. Meet with them once a week. And then on top of all that, I like to keep, because we're bigger now, it's not like we can have a relationship with every
Right.
person in the
Right.
practice, or at least I can't. It's hard for me to do that. But we want them to know they're genuinely cared for. And that's something that we just are. That's who we are. We're not using them as employees for means to an end. We actually want them to have a rewarding career. And we want them to be happy in the environment they're in. And we want the doctors and the team members to have connected relationships with each other. And so we lead by example in that way. And that's a big deal. So team run practices is all of that, what I
Hmm.
just said, with one more caveat. And that is, if it's just you, it's one thing. But if you have partners, you want partners who are like that as well. Like I have partners who I love, and care for, and we trust each other, and they couldn't do things without me, and I couldn't do things without them. And so it takes, how they say it takes a village to raise a
Yeah. Yeah.
child,
Yeah.
right? And so the practice is a child, and it does take a small village. And so that small village is your team. And you know that if you want a village that's successful and thrives and enjoy, they're happy. You need a positive culture there, and you need relationships and connectivity. And so, that's really it, man.
So, I mean,
That is
not to
it.
get into the nitty-gritty details of running the practice, but
Yeah,
explain to me how the dynamic between decision making and authority between, the team, the maybe let's say call it
yeah,
the managing partner or the dentist and yourself. So, explain to me that dynamic.
yeah. So we have removed basically this. We have centralized management now, where we have a regional manager, we have someone in charge of HR payroll, someone doing marketing. Okay, and so they all have their lanes. They deal with all things HR payroll related, all things regional management related, and there's a list of
Mm,
responsibilities. Then all things marketing related, and then I meet with all those folks. And then in the offices, the principal job of the partner doc is to just do
mm,
dentistry, right? But also participate in their morning huddle or their month end meetings, and also to communicate with the regional manager from time to time so that they can connect and say, hey, this is what's going on in the office. These are my frustrations,
right,
etc. The regional manager also connects with the lead in the practice. So the office manager, for example, and wants to talk to them and understand what's going on there. So those interactions are important. With respect to specific decision making frameworks, we have given our regional managers and empowered them to make decisions, and they're very clear what decisions they
mm,
can make. When in doubt, they send an email
mm,
and they ask. The owner operators of the practice have full autonomy to do what they would like, but we again have shown them systems that work, and they don't want to do a lot of that, so that gets taken off their lap. What they're mainly doing is relationship building and leading their team, and that's something you can never get away from. If you're in the office doing dentistry, you're going to be there, you got to connect with your team, and you have to understand the systems we use and the processes we use so you can help your team use those
right,
processes,
right.
right? So you can ask me a more granular question if that doesn't answer it, but this topic, it's pretty complex, so I don't want to bore
No, I mean,
anybody
I
with
mean, I mean, it just
details.
the setup of this. I mean, I'm sure it takes a lot of effort, a lot of trial and error, a lot of training,
Yeah.
and what I'm hearing from you is you trust the system and you trust the people. And what I'm hearing, are
hmm
they equal, or how do you evaluate? Is it system first or people?
I think the people are number one, because I honestly think if you have the people on board that are great people who actually care, who want to grow, they'll figure out a
Mm,
way, right? Like they'll just figure out a way and they'll come to you with a system, right? But I do think having a system is helpful because you set them up for success, and you make it a lot easier. And why put the burden on them to go find a system when there's 100,000 people who have already done it before you and it's been working? So just go swipe
right,
the
right.
system, right? Like we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Like there's systems that work already, and so just take the system and run the system. And so to me, that makes the most sense. It's like, you go to a course or a program to learn how to do great class 2 composites or crown preparations or whatever, right? There's 1,000 dentists out there that do a great job, but they all do it 1,000 different ways. And so just pick one of those and just do that. And so I think what's important is the people first, because you can have a great system, you can have the best system in the world, but people with not the right mindset, attitude, or ownership mentality, or love, affection, and care for the patients and the rest of their team, and the system doesn't
Absolutely,
work,
absolutely.
right? We've all got the wrong order at McDonald's, and so you can't tell me that it's only systems driven.
So, you know, how do you create purpose for the team and for yourself? That everybody just row in the same direction.
Yeah, so I think purpose and passion is a recipe for anxiety and disaster in most people's life, to be frank. Okay, maybe not the answer you're looking for. Let me explain. So I think this idea of saying, what is your purpose? What is your passion? You force people to actually have to find something. And that is stressful. It's like, how are you supposed to think your way through what you're passionate
Right.
about, really? And so, yeah, I love to play music, or I love to travel, and I love to do this. Well, great. Well, now do that day in, day out. Okay. And make it a job. And now try to figure out a way to monetize it and tell me how much you like it. Okay. You're going to like it about
Exactly.
half the time. And so, in my opinion, I think the best way to find your passion or your purpose is just to do a lot of stuff. Like get out there and do a lot of stuff. So we're all talking to dentists now. If you're already a dentist, well, too late, right? We're not going to start asking you to look in the rearview mirror. What I'm going to ask you to do is say, do a bunch of
Mhm.
different dental procedures. Just do them all. Don't be afraid. Get in there and do it. Take a bunch of courses and programs. Go visit different types of dentists who have different types of practices and have lunch with them or dinner with them, and go and work with sophisticated business operators. See what part of that you love, right? And so we are passionate and feel purposeful when one thing has happened. We have gotten
Mm.
good at something.
Right.
Okay. So if you get good at something, oh man, do you feel passionate? Okay. And until you are, you don't. So I think the best thing to do is we have a wonderful profession. Unless you absolutely hate everything to do with people in dentistry, then I would say you can find your passion within this profession. Just even doing chair work, like in the chair, you can do it doing that 5 days a
Mhm.
week if you like. 6, 7, I don't care. It's up to you. But the point is, you can find passion in anything. And it's because you get good at something. When you get good at something, you're passionate. Now, what is purpose? Well, I think our whole purpose in life for everyone should be pretty much the same. It should be to basically enjoy your life and live a fulfilled life. That should be our purpose. Figure out a way to be fulfilled. What other purpose could we possibly have on this earth? That's my take on it. I don't think we need to get complicated here, and I think there's too much business out there and money being made on trying to help people find these things in their lives. And I think the answer is
I,
right
I
there
I
in front
love
of you.
this. I'm gonna circle back to the team because I think it's really important. It's very unique. So, I
Sure.
mean, I'm sure you have your metrics, your dashboards. Do you look at things daily, weekly, monthly? Like, what how do you make sure like you have a pulse on your practices and make sure that everything is working as it should?
Yeah. So great question. So metrics for sure, right? We have approximately 10 or 12 different measures that we take. And a lot of people say, well, it's not about the metrics. It's not about the numbers. Well, look, if you're trying to lose weight and you never, let's say jump on a scale, how do you know what your progress really is? Like, I don't know if you've tried to lose 10 pounds and not weighed yourself.
It's
There's
hard.
no motivation. Like, like it's pretty hard. It's like, where's my progress? And so I think you need to, have numbers in place because it's the idea of knowing how you're doing. What's funny? We think our team members would rather just come in, clock out, and never really hear from us. But really, they're all
Right.
dying for feedback. Everyone wants to know they're doing a good job because becoming good at what you're doing and becoming the best at what you're doing is
Mhm.
passion. It gives you purpose. And so I think metrics help people align to that passion and purpose because now they say, oh, like I'm doing really good and I'm hitting these targets and these numbers. And so that makes me good. I'll give you an example. So if you're a hygienist and we're measuring your billings per hour and your reappointment rate, meaning the number of people who book back
Right.
after their last hygiene appointment. Okay. You saw 100 patients this month, 100 book back, that's 100%. So billings per hour and those. People would say, well, that's just all about money then. And well, that would be a very
Mm.
simplistic point of view. And seeking clarification would be wise. So let me give it here. Number one, billings per hour. What do the hygienists that bill the
Mm.
most, provided it's ethical, what do they have in common? Number one, they treat scaling and root planning as a
Mm.
prescription, meaning not everyone gets 2 units of X, Y, and Z and booked for an hour. They're
Right.
customized treatment plans. They do adjunct procedures that they know patients need, right? That
Mm.
can benefit patients. These hygienists are excellent with the tactical skill and the ability to do a great job, and they're very good at building
Absolutely.
interpersonal skills. Lastly, these hygienists are wonderful at talking about oral systemic connection or helping patients understand why coming in when you have 6 millimeter pockets or 5 millimeter pockets, why coming in every 4 months or 3 months is better than the 1 year or 6 month recall that's paid for. Why you should come in and pay out of pocket because it matters. So that's what the billings per hour tells us. It tells us which of these hygienists is actually a great hygienist overall. Not to say the ones that aren't doing as well are not great. They just need some mentorship and maybe some more confidence to present to patients in a confident way. And the way that confidence is
I
established is through
love this.
education.
I
And
I
so that's the key. right? So without that metric, how do you
Right,
know
right.
who's
No,
who?
absolutely. So, I mean, tell me about motivation, right? And motivation is I mean, you have your metrics, you hope everything is in the green zone, and sometimes you just need to step in, interfere. How do you motivate your team to do their best?
Yeah. So I don't think, years ago I used to think you could motivate people. I think you can, but it takes far too much effort and nobody has the time.
I
You
love
want so we can't all be
Right.
Tony Robbins all the time, right? That's not our job. But what I will say is, if you are thoughtful in hiring people and getting to know your team, and you weed out the people who are not
Mm.
motivated in general, these are just not motivated human beings. You can do
Mhm.
nothing for them. And that may sound terrible, but if you're not somewhat intrinsically motivated, the chances are you're not going to be motivated by me. And so, so what is the purpose of me spending time on that? I used to spend endless hours trying to level people up and motivate them, only to sacrifice my own energy, me become resentful because you spent so much time and they're not doing anything. So I like to work with the right canvas, right? Like, if you're gonna, chop wood, you want a sharp axe, right? There's no point in not sharpening your axe. You're just gonna be kicking yourself in the butt afterwards. So why not actually have the appropriate canvas? Why not have a sharp axe? Why not have team members who are actually eager to do their best? And so that comes in the interview process. Are they all going to be like that? No. But if the majority of people you have on board really
Mm.
actually want to do their best, like they want to do their best, they enjoy being a good practitioner or great receptionist or really good at treatment coordination. They just enjoy the human interaction and touch and want to help improve people's lives. Well, they're going to
Right.
respond to a metric. The other ones won't. And so I don't think motivating people should be our job. We need to find people who do have some level of intrinsic motivation. And this is why I think overall bonus systems, for example, don't generally
That was
work.
gonna be my follow-up question, but I guess you answered that for me. So, I mean, every dentist, right now is struggling with staff. I mean, HR recruiting is a struggle, right? How do you find motivated
Mhm.
people? I mean, what do you guys do?
We're all going through the same stuff right now. This is a unique time. People use the word unprecedented
Mhm.
for things that they can't explain. Okay. So it's an unprecedented time like never before. It's a fancy way of saying I have
Right.
no clue what's going on right now. And so, or what is going to happen next. And so, what does that mean? It means we're going to run into problems. There's money being printed. There's all kinds of things happening that are influencing who's coming back to work or who's not. Okay, people are always going to take a free ride over the need to go to work, especially if their basic needs are being met. And so there's stuff like that. But then there's also people that maybe want profession changes. When you're in the middle of a pandemic, it's never the time to really go through this existential crisis type thing. Like, it's better to just stay emotionally stable and just write it out. And when it's all said and done, let's see if we still have the same problems. Okay. So I don't believe we will. I think a year from now, when things are a distant memory and people are traveling again and socializing and high fiving and hugging each other and able to date again, and they're not all in emotional turmoil, I think we're going to see people with bigger smiles, people who realize that they do want to come to work, and we're going to see increases in applications and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. That's my belief. That is my belief. And I think this is transient. So, how do we do it? We
Mm.
just keep on doing what we're doing. It's a struggle, right? We put out an ad in the past, let's say 2 years ago, we'd put out an ad, or a year and a half ago, and we would get
Right.
dozens of applications. And now
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
we get two. And so, even though you're competitive with wages, even though you're competitive with incentive packages, even though you're competitive with, let's say, flexibility of hours and vacation time, at the end of the day, the
Right. Right.
applicant pool is just not there. You can't get people to apply if they don't want to apply. There's nothing you can say to change that. So I think we're going to, if anyone out there is saying, oh, we have no problems with it at all, like, just walk in the other direction,
It,
because man, you're like,
it's
it's
definitely a
gonna reek
struggle
of
across the
BS.
board.
And so everyone's
Yeah,
having a
yeah.
problem
No,
with it. Everyone.
absolutely, absolutely. Justin, what I'm hearing from you, just as this conversation is we're in the middle of this conversation. A lot of dentists, they work until retirement, running their practice, chair side. The business is probably generating, a 25% return, not a bad return, but the only exit strategy is to sell the practice, right? They sell the practice, walk out, walk away with few $1 million. If they go and put it in the stock market or maybe in real estate, it's just not going to generate a 25% return. I mean, it's going to be very hard. But what I'm hearing from you is you have a different, there's a different path, which is build a practice, run it, be effective in how you run it, and then you have options whether to sell,
Yeah.
whether to keep. And you know tell me more about this. Like, how do you see it?
Well, to me, it's simple. I'm not the brightest or sharpest tool in the shed, right?
I
So
mean,
for me, I got to
you have a
really
track
simplify
record
things. They
here,
have to
but
be black and white.
who's counting?
No, no, if there's any gray zone or ambiguity, I don't get it. And so that's why I like to ask a lot of questions, and I love being the dumbest guy in the room. And so it's chapter 10 of my book, in fact. Um, so what I mean by that is this. I think it's we get this shiny object syndrome, the grass is greener syndrome. We start thinking, hey, so and so made this much money in stocks, and maybe I should be Warren Buffett, and that my other buddy opened up a Subway, and he's got three, and he's doing great. No, I don't know, right? What you're thinking about, but the reality is this: the best thing you can do is always get your house in order. Meaning, whatever the predominant source of income is that you have should be maximized. Okay. Your spending should be minimized so as to have greater liquidity for investment. In other words, make more, spend less, and then invest. Okay. And you definitely want to earn, save, and invest
Mm,
simultaneously. You definitely want to do this. But the best investment you're going to make is in your own personal productivity, right? Becoming more productive as a dentist in the most ethical way possible. And so, that just means only doing things that need to be done, but learning two things: taking more courses and programs on how to do certain procedures, and two, learning how to actually get patients
right.
to do those procedures, right? And actually have the impact you need to have. And then I guess the third one is understanding the business side. And if you don't
Mm,
want to, get a strategic partner, right? Or work with someone. It's not wrong to just associate and just work with someone and never own. That's okay too if you want that. But if you want ownership and you want something that you can have as an investment long term, it makes sense to get out there and do that. And the returns on that, they're not passive returns. So we can't mix it up with
right.
like an index fund, right? For example, like let's compare apples to apples here. And so we're not talking about you putting money automated monthly into some index fund and or dollar cost averaging from now until you're 70 years old, hoping to have a lot of money. That's a different ballgame. This is like got to roll your sleeves
Right.
up and get to work, right? And so it's an investment, but it is not a passive investment. And even if you try to take more time away from it and start to just become the owner hat, wearing the operator hat, not doing dentistry like I am,
and
you're
and
still
that-
very
that's the
involved.
key that I wanted to
So
highlight was, right, that you run
yeah,
your practice remotely. You do, you have your business consultancy, you have a lot of things, which is great because it gave you the time to do these things, but it's not on autopilot. Right.
no. And I think autopilot is one of those terms that people sell to make it seem like you can sit on a beach and just have money raining down, right? And so it's a great marketing term, right? Like you can have your office on autopilot, and this can be the dream you've always wanted. You actually don't have to go in. And I live in Florida, and I only work 2 days a month. I could say that, right? It's true. I mean, those are all true statements, but when you start unpeeling it, you have to understand that I don't just work 2 days a month. When Tim Ferriss wrote the book, 4 Hour Work Week, he did not intend for people to take it literally. So, that's just not a reality. I mean, what he's trying to say is you can do whatever you're doing in a lot less time and have more freedom and a life. And you can. I believe that. And so I think the key to realize is the more
Mm,
disciplined you become, the more freedom you
right.
get. Okay. As weird as that sounds, the more disciplined you become, the more freedom you get. And here's why: you're disciplined about focusing on your business now. Nothing else. It's the business and your family, of course, and things, but I'm focused on growth of this business. That is my goal. And I'm going to sprint towards that goal. I'm not going to one day wake up and want to become a rock star, or the other day wish I went into ortho school or whatever. Okay. This is what I'm doing. And if you stay disciplined and focused, you achieve great things. That's how our brain and operating system is hardwired to basically give us what we
I,
focus on. Look around in your life.
I
Everything you
love
have is because
this.
you focused on it,
The
right?
noise that is around us, from different ideas, different things. I want to do this, I want to do that. It's crazy. And that discipline and focus is,
Yep.
it's, I mean, this is really valuable lesson. And I think, but by you doing, all of this, it took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of, talk to me a little bit more about how do you
It
block the
does.
noise? How do you identify this is noise, or this is no, this is important, I need to focus on this?
A simple question. I was terrible at this. I'm a lot better now. So, for example, if it's business related, you have to ask yourself, is this task, is this idea, is this thought, or let's call it distraction, going to bring me closer to the goal I am focused on, or potentially further away? And if the answer is potentially further away, even an inkling of that, well, it's done. It's not worth my time. Why? We can only insert so much time, with distraction time in place. So if you're really clear on the goal, right? Like it's so beautiful because it's so simple. You pick the goal, you stay focused on the goal, you don't
So,
quit till the goal is accomplished.
the
That's it.
three-step formula.
And that's it. Everything else, and you know it, you're a successful guy. Everyone listening who's a dentist already completed dental school, right? Like, yeah, you want to throw in the towel sometimes. Yeah, you wish it was half the amount of time. And yes, you're learning a bunch of stuff that's not practically applicable. And you're not enjoying your days sometimes. And you maybe don't like all your classmates. But at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, you graduated, right? And you're better for it. So you didn't say yes to chiropractic school or medical school at the same time or halfway through. You didn't start to try to open a business or invest in stocks halfway through. You just focused on the degree and you got the degree. Now it's time for you to apply that same
I
discipline to the growth of the practice,
I
and
love this.
and you'll get it
Justin, the
done.
landscape of dentistry, especially in Canada, is changing. There's a lot of consolidation in the market, right? What is your advice for a practice owner? How can they stand out? What is this? Is that a threat? Is that an opportunity? How do you see it from your perspective?
It's both. It's both a threat and an opportunity. And so it's a threat if you don't, if you think it's just here as a fad and it's going to go away. It's a threat. If you recognize that it's here to stay and consolidation is only going to grow, it's only going to continue to progress until it finally stabilizes, right? Like you take medicine in the United States, or you take law or whatever.
Mm,
It's like 50-50, right? And consolidated group type practices versus owner operator cottage industry type stuff. It's like about 50-50. And so I think that's where dentistry will head as well. It'll be about 50-50 at some point, maybe 15, 20, 30 years from now. But that's where it's headed.
mm,
Consolidation will not slow down. There's no reason for it to. There's tremendous benefit to the people consolidating, and actually to many of the, more than just financial. There's just working with other folks can be beneficial to you. So I think it's important to recognize it's not going away. And so, yes, if you're not going to adapt to the times, then yeah, this is going to be a threat to you for sure, because you're going to get better and more sophisticated business operators competing with you, and they're not going anywhere. They're only increasing by the day. And so, if you're not going to get with the program, then you should feel threatened. If you are going to get with the program and you're going to start putting in the work required to do what you need to do to compete, then I think you're going to be just fine. And there's tremendous opportunity. So let's talk about opportunity because it's positive. The first opportunity is for you to actually grow a business that now there's many
mhm.
folks that want to buy it from you at some point, right? Like if you decide you do want to go and, you know, live that hobby and just work as an associate dentist 3 days a week now for the rest of your life, or 2 days a week for the rest of your life, you could grow a great practice, sell it, and have some money sitting around to buy you that time. Maybe that buys you 3 or 4 years in your career where you don't have to do anything and you really get to live that life you wanted and realize the grass isn't greener. I mean, the reality is it just buys you time. So if you can build a great practice, there's a tremendous number of buyers who will pay you good money for these practices, provided you know how to
Right.
build a profitable practice, right? And you can do that very ethically
So
and very
the
systematically.
opportunity is, I mean, build it, to sell, or or build it to keep it, and
Or build it to keep it.
run it in a way that is
Yeah,
profitable, for the owner. You know, but I
exactly.
do like your model.
Exactly.
I think your model is amazing, because in my opinion, that pressure, that okay, I am tired of the 5, or 6 days a week of working. I can have a practice that, still own, I still run, but I'm not pressured, to be there every single day. And I can, do the things that I enjoy, whether it's consulting, whether it's, doing other things. Justin, I want to wrap up here with the, fulfillment, formula. I know we talked about this a while ago, and
Formula.
it really intrigued me. So I want to circle back to that.
Sure. Yeah. So the fulfillment formula is something my wife and I created together because, as I mentioned earlier, I think what everyone's purpose should be is to create fulfillment in their life. And I think if that is your sole purpose, then I think you're on the right track. And so, what is fulfillment? It's different for every person, and so we had to come up with our own formula for that. What does it mean for the Bhullar family? So it's a bunch of F words, right? None of them derogatory. Um, and the first F word is family, meaning connecting with your family. Being there for them, no matter what you do, no matter what your ambitions, you always make time for the family. And so, being very disciplined about creating time for the family, and working on that relationship. Marriage is not easy. Having kids is not easy. Having business is not easy. And none of this is easy. So we got the trifecta going on here, right? And that's enough to make most people cry. And the reality is, there's so many people in our same boat: business, marriage, family, kids, sorry. And I think the key is really to just define what you want each of those to be and just work towards them. It's going to be good and it's going to be bad sometimes. And the reality is, if you know what's important to you, you won't compromise and you'll stay focused, right? So family is very, very important to me. And I think the sometimes when we're overworking or doing a little too much, the kind of the lie that we sell ourselves is, I'm doing this for my kids because we had a tough life and we want their life to be easy. Well, be careful what you sell yourself, because number one, it's not true. Like, the fact that you are who you are is because your life was hard. Why are we trying to make our kids' lives easy? Right? I mean, why on earth do we want to do that? What kind of growth and progress comes from easy, everything being easy? And so, I get what parents are saying, because I'm guilty of it
Mm,
too. I want it to be a better life than mine. I do. And the way to do that is to lead by example with the
right.
kids, not just give them everything. Okay. The best way your kids are going to be the best version of themselves is for you to be the best version of yourself. So family is number one on the list. Number two is fitness, mental and physical fitness. So take care of your brain, take care of your mind, take care of your body. If somebody told you, this is Warren Buffett, I heard from him a long time ago. Warren says, if somebody told you that you could pick any car you want, go ahead and pick your dream car, whatever that car is. Okay. And you pick it. You're going to have a lot of fun doing that. But then they say, you know what? This is the only car you're going to get to drive for the rest of your life. What are you going to do? You're going to put gas in it right on
Yeah.
time, get the oil changes 2 months early, whatever, right? Now, of course, that's not reality, but the reality is that you only have one brain and one body. And if you don't take care of that, that's the
Yeah.
only one you're getting. There is no replacement. And you can talk about biohacking and nutrition all day long. The bottom line is, if you're doing damage, you're doing damage, and you're just not going to be as energetic as you need to be. And so the third is finances. Okay, so
Mm,
finances means get your money right. Okay, get your money right. So I'll leave it at that. Um, the fourth one is freedom. So freedom to do work, be with people, and in places that bring you some level of joy. Right now, is that always going to be the case? Do I love my work 24/7? No. Do I love much of it? Yes. Do I love being with my kids all the time? No. God, no. But do I just absolutely love being with them much of the time?
right.
100%. Same goes for all these things. Okay. So you want to be around people who bring you some level of, you want to, sorry, establish a life that gives you some level of freedom to bring in the types of things you want to bring in. The other is to create some level of fun in your life. Okay, that's the other F, fun. And fun means whatever it means to you. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if fun is like sitting there quietly and just reading a book to yourself and not talking to anyone for a day. That could be a lot of fun for some folks. And so, maybe it's, drawing or whatever you do. I don't know. But I mean, it's unique to you. So create fun for yourself. And the last F of the fulfillment formula is friendships. I think it's really important to have people in your life that are not your family, that are not your colleagues, who are your friends, and who, even if it's just one or two people in your life that you can talk to and connect with, and experience this life journey with. I think that's important to do. So that's the fulfillment formula, right? Family, fitness, mental and physical, finances, freedom, fun, and friendships. All 6 F words. And we try to just live our life based on that. So you can call that our value system, if you will, right? And so now when we're doing too much of one, every Sunday I look at it, and if I'm doing too much of one thing and not of another, it just realigns me. So now 5 years of my life doesn't go by with me saying, damn, my kids grew up so fast, I missed it. I don't let Sunday to Sunday go by without that. And I used to do that. I used to do that. I would allow the business and all the other things and my thoughts and my anxiety and my own stress take over, and I wasn't present for my family, not as present as I should have been. And,
Justin,
I
this
just won't make
resonates with me so much. I mean, I do have 3 kids as well, and what I notice is, what they want is really the time, is that connection, the family, right? And yeah, we all have stressful days, we all go up and down, but I think just having this as something to kind of remember or pay attention to, right? It's really amazing. Justin, I really want to thank you for your time. I mean, we could go for hours here. There was a lot of
sure.
engaging and entertaining conversation here, and I really appreciate it. If somebody wants to get in touch, say hi, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I would just say email. So you can go to HIGH performance, spelled as performance, practice.com, highperformancepractice.com. And my contact information's on there. So,
Perfect, and we'll have that in the show notes. So that would
yeah.
be in the show notes. So
Yeah. And the email address is drjustin at highperformancepractice.com.
perfect. Well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate your time. This was
Sure.
awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Mo. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us on your favorite podcasting app. If you'd like to learn more about Shift Accounting, visit us at www.shiftacct.com, or you can reach out to me directly at Mohammed, Mohamed, at shiftacct.com.